this is I think my 4th year at the Stinson Summit. I went to Beaumont 2 years. I was here last year. I've got a 48 108-3 with a Lycoming in it. And at last year's summit, right out here, about 4 o'clock Sunday morning, I think it was, had a pretty nasty cell come right over the airport. Of course, my airplane was tied down in the line with everybody else's. And the tie downs that I was using, what are those called, Brett? Same ones you have.
I don't remember the name of them.
They're basically a rope, and there's a metal hook on either end. And the hook doesn't have a spring-loaded safety catch. So what happened was the right wing, the tie down came unhooked from the ground. And we didn't see any rash on the left wingtip, but when I got there at 7 o'clock Sunday morning, the fabric on the left wing was loose and wrinkled, and you could grab that wingtip and kind of rock it a little bit, and the fabric was doing one of these numbers. And all we can figure is that right wing wasn't tied down, so the wind picked it up and then slammed the left wing against the rope. And did it do it once or 85 times? Don't know. We got to looking, pulled some inspection covers, found some damaged ribs, and somebody decided to take a knife and cut and rip the fabric off because I wasn't flying anywhere. Was that, yeah?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, satisfying as hell, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Somebody else's airplane.
we got to looking, eventually found there's like 6 or 7 ribs in a row that were compromised, that were crinkled and bent and paint popped off. And so in October, no, it was right near the tie-down point, which is where the stress would have been. So in October, I came back down, took the wings off. Jack Stewart, who is over in Jacksonville, he was one of the presenters last year. He's got a shop over there and does a lot of Stinson work. He met me here. Of course, the night before, I filled it full of fuel, so now I got 50 gallons of gas to deal with that I still haven't burned up in my tractor yet. And we got the fuel drained out, got the wings off, and I had previously built some brackets that bolt onto my trailer that I can then bolt the wings to the trailer instead of the mattresses, and hauled the wings over to his shop, and he stripped them both and found all the damage in the left wing. Well, try to find a wing for a -3 these days. Thanks to Eddie, a little while later, I get a message from him, says, hey, you better look on Barnstormers. I think there's a project on there that'll work for you. In far eastern Pennsylvania, and I mean like 45 miles from New York City, there was a guy that had passed away, 96 years old. He used to fly Connies back in the 50s for TWA. He died, and one of his buddies was trying to sell his project for the widow. Well, it was a -3 that the previous owner had disassembled in like 1976, didn't finish it. He bought it in the early 80s and died before it got finished. When they tore it apart, it had 195.6 total time on the airframe. So I feel a little bit guilty about separating the parts and pieces of this airplane, but I did it anyway. So a buddy and I drove all the way out there nonstop, loaded it up in 4 or 5 hours and turned around, and we had two nights in a hotel. But in less than 72 hours, we went from northwest Iowa all the way to Pennsylvania, back through Jacksonville, dropped off the good wings and some other pieces, loaded up the bad wings, and then back to Spencer, Iowa. And my airplane had some hail dents on the tail, some of the tail feathers. So we're using the vertical, the horizontal, the rudder, and the elevators off of the parts airplane, plus both wings. The wings that I got had been stripped, blasted, inspected, primed, new pulleys, new cables, and recovered 30 years ago. So Jack stripped all the fabric off, cleaned all the glue off, everything else looks brand new, and recovered the wings. In the process, I thought, well, I'm not going to leave the 50-year-old fabric on the fuselage, so we're recovering the fuselage also. I've decided we took the landing light assembly out of the damaged wing. He put that in the right wing, so I'll have 2 landing lights, and I bought the new high-dollar LEDs that'll have the wigwag in them, new wingtip LED lights.
Nice.
I've added auxiliary fuel, so there's a 13-gallon auxiliary tank that goes between the back seat and the baggage compartment. So I decided now's the time to do that. So, and I don't have an 8-hour bladder, but like when I come down here, it's about 3.5 hours. I paid $7 a gallon for fuel last year. Normally I run 91 octane, no ethanol, for 4.5. So it'd be nice to go out 3.5 hours and come back 3.5 hours without having to buy gas. So decided to do that also. I do want to put VGs on it, and we're going to paint it accordingly so that kind of plays with the location of the VGs. That's why I was asking for pictures of that. So I'm going to use that picture you posted. Thanks for that. Seems like there's something else I'd done. anyway, I'm going to be leaving here in just a little bit to go over to Jacksonville to see the airplane and drop off some parts to Jack, and then I'll come back for supper. But right now, I think he's got everything in silver. He did ask me for an awful lot of money just for paint here a couple weeks ago. It was about $3,000 just for the paint to put on this damn thing. But
Is that it?
what's that?
What paint?
He's doing the polyfiber system. Polyfiber? Yeah, polyfiber.
Now, are
Stitz?
those
Okay.
the pictures that he'd been posting online that you were?
That's mine, yep.
Okay, okay.
Yep, that one. And I think it's kind of a back burner project for him in between doing annuals and other maintenance. My wife and I are about 26 months into restoring an old Victorian house, and that's dragging on and on and on. So I haven't had the time or the money to play with the damn thing anyway. And now my hangar is full of airplane parts from this other conglomeration of stuff that I drug home. But got an awful lot of good parts out of that airplane to reuse. So yeah, I was hoping to have it done in time for this, but it didn't work out. Maybe next year.
So what's the lessons learned?
If you can't take all the money in your wallet and light it on fire and watch it burn and not feel the least bit bad about it, get the hell out of aviation. Insurance is gonna pay a pretty big chunk of what's gonna happen. They're paying me mileage and hotels to go out and get a wing. They're gonna pay for one wing. You know, I'm paying for the rest of it, but I wouldn't do it without having insurance. I know some people will keep their airplanes without insurance, but it's a big chunk of change, especially now. And like Jack said, he says, "Man, you're gonna have a $100,000 Stinson when you're done." You might not be too far off, you know, with the price of these Lycoming engines and having basically a freshly restored airframe and everything I've done with it. So
So you have a light coming right out of it.
yeah, it's got an 0360 in it. Yep.
But I think the other lesson learned is because I was with him when we found his airplane and we saw that hook undone,
Mm-hmm.
the tie down, is don't use hooks.
Yeah.
I have the same tie downs, but I changed my hooks to like large carabiners.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
it will not come undone.
You know, ropes work just fine for how many decades?
Yeah,
They're not as fast, but if you can tie a bowline knot, then it takes
Yep.
about 10 seconds. So, yeah, I definitely won't be using those anymore. So, I mean, now that the airplane's nice, I don't want to hurt it.
Since we're having a little conversation on tie down
Mhm.
there, I'm at the point now where I'm either gonna put the factory tie down loop, you know, those back in my Dash 3.
The eye bolt through the spar.
Or just the
Yep.
eyes and spar. Or I can go with the ones that goes on the strut, top of
Mhm.
the strut there. Any one better than the other one?
Well, the strut is not a tie down, it's a guide.
It's a rope locator. Yeah.
You go look the way I've got mine tied down, the ropes that I've
Mhm.
got, it's like, I don't feel too bad because everybody else's Stinson's gonna blow away and mine's, I went crazy with the tie down.
Mm-hmm.
And, going up to Oshkosh, when you get those Wednesday afternoon thunderstorms come through,
Mm-hmm.
the part that bothers me is not my airplane blowing away in the storm, because it ain't going over.
Somebody else has landed on you.
The 1/4-inch clothesline and the dog screws.
Mm-hmm.
There
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
That's true. There was this year. There was what's the early J3? Was it a J1? What
J2,
with the older engines in them?
Yeah.
The earlier. There's one of those, three of them ahead of me. Two of them took off. One of them tied his plane down. Did a crappy job of tying it down. The whole wing was loose. The tail came back probably 6 feet. The thing was flying in the
Mm.
like it was so bad, and he flew it out the next day.
yeah.
You know, Eddie, you might want to consider, if you look in the Stinson catalog, they've got what they call seaplane tie downs,
Right.
right? So I've got the drawing for that. I made them. I had a guy make them for me. And they're a little bit heavier than what the Stinson was. And I used 7050 T356 aluminum, which has the same properties as mild steel. And they bolt on with and 3s, I think there's 4 of them, that go through the spar.
Are those the ones you showed us last year?
It was.
They fit right in the spar.
That
Yeah.
would require me having to get back into that one
Yeah.
to do that.
Oh, that's right,
I'm covered already.
you're covered? Okay.
I guess in my opinion, that eye bolt through the spar, it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It was strong enough to damage the wing, and at that point, the tie down becomes irrelevant.
Past the tie down, that it was gonna give it some extra leverage to
Mhm.
pull there, or if I needed to be back closer to the,
Well, your airplane, if you had the hooks on it where they were secured and it never come off, don't think anything would have happened.
I wouldn't be standing here. No.
It was just
Nope.
The idea that it came off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when I would tie it down, I don't like wrench it down to where the wing sags, but I make sure there's no extra slack. And I think there was just a downburst that pushed the wing down hard enough on that side that it boop, came undone. And I'm just glad it didn't hit somebody else's airplane in the process.
I think a word needs to be said about the rope itself too. Is just like anchor line on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
You want the nylon. You need that twisted nylon.
Mhm.
That's a shock absorber because you can't hold the craft steady.
Right.
You need to let it
Walk a little bit.
not
Yeah.
jerk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
come
your-
back
your
next year. I
rudder-
should have it done by then.
Your rudder is the old rudder then, not the redone now, right?
What do you mean by the old rudder?
Where they, the,
You got an original rudder or Univir rudder?
do you know what I mean?
So they have the skins that in.
Yes,
are
the
they-
skins are dimpled.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
original.
Yeah, it's original. What's that?
The Eenies and not the Audis.
Everybody, I just talked to the barbecue place. They said, please wait until we get down there to order. They can have it ready pretty quick and get it down there to us then.
Yeah.
So just do it that way. See, I just placed an order and they said, okay, it's ready. It'll be a little while. Yeah, so everybody just hold off until we get to Quincy Brewing Company.
All right. That'll work.
Does anybody want to ride over to Jacksonville with me and back?
I'll go with you.
All right, you're it.
Hey, and I think since we got some time, maybe a round engine start up here shortly too.
Yeah.
So,
When are we doing the raffle drawing? Is that tomorrow or
we can do something.